Hi everybody, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Instinct on CBS Season 2. It's going to be a good one. Bojana, Novakovic. How are you?
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So
Great handshake.
Oh, good. Well, firm handshake, off to a good start. How's everything going for you?
It's going good. That's a very broad question.
Yeah, well, I like to start broad and then we kind of hone in a little bit. But Instinct is coming through again on CBS. So what's it been like for you to build this thing out?
I'm super excited that we've got a second season and the characters are developing in a really great, fun way, and we have new cast members, and I can't wait to see it.
And you've been in a lot of different projects, so getting something to a Season 2 is a big deal in this industry. I don't think enough people realize that, because sometimes it doesn't make it out of Season 1. So
sometimes it doesn't even make it to Season 1.
Sometimes it's just the pilot and that's it.
Sometimes it doesn't even make it off the page, not even into a pilot.
And I'm sure you've had some of those along the way.
I've written some of those.
You've written some of those too. So I'm sure you really appreciate this.
For CBS.
Oh, well there you go. Now they're hooking you up. Said, Bojana, you know what? We just forgive us for this. We got you here.
This was my consolation prize.
There you go. I mean, not a bad consolation prize.
I would have taken it as a first prize.
Definitely. So what has been the most interesting part of the experience for you so far?
On Instinct?
Yeah.
I think just the team that we're working with and the people that we're working with, and kind of creating something with a bunch of people who I would want to go to dinner with and do go to dinner with. And I find it really, I find it incredibly kind of inspiring to be able to work with those people on something that I also think is a really important show for network television.
And why do you think that?
Well, I think it's an important show because there's a few reasons. The main is that we do have the first, openly gay lead in a network drama on American television, and that we're not, that there's no hoo-ha about it. It's just what it is.
Just another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and as Alan always says, it's come very late, and in the scheme of when it should have come.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's on the most watched network on American TV. So wouldn't have, it's something that maybe people wouldn't have expected CBS to do, and it's just been what it is. And he's in a marriage that's like other marriages and relatable, and I think it's really important, particularly because I think people can be afraid of what they don't know. And we're in their living rooms, on a Sunday night, now at 9 p.m, it was 8 p.m. last year, and we become part of their lives like that, and so they're less afraid of something that they might have been afraid of and been prejudiced towards for no reason.
Absolutely. And it just, like you said, it's just a lack of knowledge or a lack of awareness. Like, my generation has just grown up with this. It's been a normal thing, whereas like the generation before is like, wait, what are we talking about here? Openly gay character on TV. But after you get through that period, it's just a normal marriage.
Yeah, totally, of
just
course,
a normal
as
dude.
It should be. Yeah, and I hope that there's many more now, shows like this where it's not something that's, I hope that it's something that we don't talk about in interviews.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm 100%
it's just
with
what
you.
it is.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly kind of delightful to be part of the first one.
Sure.
And to have the opportunity to talk about it. And then, it's really interesting because when you have a lead like that and you put, a co-lead with them, that could be like, you have the opportunity to do whatever you want, really. You can put the most conventional kind of character next to that person. And then, this show puts another kooky, strange, neurotic character with him. That is me. But she kind of wears her neurosis on the inside, and she's a woman who's like emotionally inept, and you don't necessarily see that from female characters on network TV. It's the other way around normally. So I think the show kind of just breaks through some barriers. And again, when you have a female character like that, plus a female character who's like the boss, his boss, and has flaws of her own and insecurities of her own, and kind of neurotic tendencies of her own, I just think it's a really great way to introduce an audience to sort of new people for them.
Absolutely.
And so,
and these are people that exist in our lives, but we're seeing it on TV.
Yeah.
And Lizzie's a very multifaceted person. So what's it been like playing her?
It's been really, really great. It's been really great playing Lizzie, except like I wear my neurosis on the outside. I'm like super talkative, like
you just throw it all out there.
You know how I feel, like I'm like flawed in my, like, what do you call it, over oh God, I've lost the word. I'll find it. Hang on.
You'll find it. So in terms of just talking about your flaws in general, is that what you mean?
I guess so. Like, I guess so. I try to be open about my flaws. Of course, we all have blind spots. Yeah, I'm as transparent as I want to be with certain people, but I definitely, like, you know, I'm talkative, and she's the opposite. She's like, she hides in her work. She definitely hides her feelings in her work. She doesn't want to be vulnerable.
A little bit more introverted.
Vulnerability is scary, and it's scary for me too. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's scary for everybody.
But I kind of dive into it, whereas she sort of steps back more. And like, the more walls she puts up, the more you know how much she cares, because it's sort of like the more intimate she gets.
She's protecting herself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been really interesting, and I do occasionally get, you're a bit Bojana in that take. And I'll be like, come Bojana, come out sometimes.
It's like, this is how I live. I can't just rein this in.
Yeah. And when you're working, like, you know, sometimes 16-hour days.
It's a grind.
5 days a week. Yeah, sometimes it can be challenging to sort of keep all of that sort of in, and, you know, I meditate a lot on set. I actually do. Yeah, I do. I have to, because otherwise I'll just be like, and then Lizzie's not.
How long is your meditation usually?
No, I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes a day, every day. But when I'm on set, occasionally between takes or between setups, if setups go a long time, or I'll because I sometimes get excited, talk to the crew. We have an amazing crew. We dance, they play music, and so sometimes I'm like,
sounds like a party.
It's awesome. And sometimes, you know, I tend to kind of get in with their energy, and I'm like a bit of a kid, and then I get to the scene, and, you know, I keep getting notes like, just a bit less.
Can we reel this back a little bit?
Yeah, and then Alan gets that note, and someone once said to him, just a bit more subtle, and he goes, I don't do subtle. And I was like, and I have to, because that's like, that's the role.
That's the role.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that little snippet there with Alan. What else have you picked up along the way, spending so much time with him?
With him?
Yeah.
I think that he is incredible at having fun at work, and I think it's crucial to the amount of hours that we work, and I find it just so inspiring that that he knows how to have a good time while working that hard, and he's really sort of led the set in that. So we do have a good time with each other, and I find it really incredible, because I'm one. He says this. He's like, he once got asked who would be the detective between the two of us, and he was like, Bojana. My script is like filled with notes, and his is a blank, like his is just blank sides, and mine is like, you know, green for this, and then yellow for this, and then pink for this, and I mean, I like working like that, and I tried to work like him, like just cut, and I couldn't do it. No. He has his way, and I have my way, but I just love the fact that, you know, as someone who like was brought up like hard work means, you know, like you have to work hard in order to achieve, and it's just like, yeah, I can work hard, but I can also enjoy it, and I can have fun and relax.
Yeah, I think that's important. So how did you develop that style in terms of being so intense with the notes and the coloring and all that?
I love research. I love diving into things, into details and stuff like that. I love color. I used to paint. I do photography, and color's one of my favorite things. So I do use a lot of colors. I have like a color for my accent, a color for like technical notes, and then a color for like emotional notes. And I do.
But that's how your mind works, just to break it up.
Yeah, I really like it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you are at the top of the call sheet now. You've been on projects where other people have been there. What's it like carrying that responsibility?
That's a really interesting question. Well, I think the amazing thing about the way that we work is that I don't necessarily feel like there's a huge responsibility, because we share it, definitely, and that's a really good question. Well, I just really like it, because I've never thought about that before, and I enjoy the responsibility of kind of being at the top of that call sheet, because I'm not an asshole. I don't know if you have to edit that or not, but
no, it's real.
I really enjoy like having fun and noticing the respect, the crew, like particularly American crews, because I've worked in Serbia and Australia, and there's a real culture of apprenticeship here. So there's this real kind of respect that goes towards actors, which I find pretty phenomenal. And it's very normal here, but it's not normal in other countries. I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's just how it is here. It's just
different,
Yeah, and that respect is incredible, because we do have a good time, and then when things need to be a certain way, or like you do need things to kind of cater for where you're at in that moment, it happens. And it's really it's really pretty it's pretty awesome. I just think that everything that we do is for the good of the project. And I think when you're not working with assholes, that's what it is. So you're going to have good leaders, you know what I mean? I mean, if you're there for yourself, that's a whole other issue, but we just don't have people like that on set. So it's been a real joy to be on top of the call sheet. It doesn't feel like that. That's why the question is kind of like was...
No, I totally get it. But just the fact that you guys are going out to dinners and enjoying things on set, like that seems to be different from other things that I'm sure you've done in the past.
Yes, very different. we have a pretty extraordinary crew and cast.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned your experiences in Serbia and Australia.
Yes.
Are there any aspects that you miss about that, or anything you'd like to have here in America?
Oh, I miss so much. So I miss a lot that in Serbia and Australia, it's really hardly ever about the money. Like there's never some money person cranking going, we need this and we need that. Da, da, da. It's just because there's, like Serbia particularly, there really isn't the money. And I'm making a documentary over there, and I've done, had a 6-day or 7-day shoot for some stuff. I mean, I've been shooting it for years, but just recently I had an actual shoot with actors, and some of the biggest actors just came for a day for free. Just, you know, we bought them lunch.
And that wouldn't happen here.
Oh, no.
Unless you're really tight friends with them.
Yeah, unless you're like really tight friends. But even then, their lawyers would be, you know, their lawyers would be like, this and that. And
agent wants to get a cut of it. There's so many different people.
But like, we need to make sure that like you don't film him from this and this angle, and you know, you never see the, you know, the side of her butt or whatever. Like no one was naked.
Right.
But
no,
I'm just
I
saying,
get what you're saying.
like, and we had some of the biggest actors and musicians. Like we actually had like the composer of the he came and did a cameo. I had a whole bunch of people come to cameos. But it's easier to get a group of people together and do something. Although that camaraderie does exist here, but money makes it a bit difficult. That's all. Like that's all.
So we've had a few people here from Australia. We had Luke Mitchell, did the code.
Yeah.
We had Jacki Weaver here recently.
Oh my God, I love her.
I'm sure you grew up watching some of her stuff, right?
Well, I grew up watching her in the theatre, and I knew her as like the gorgeous actress who like would come to every single opening night I ever had in the theatre. Like I remember, I think it was after she was nominated for her Oscar. Like I wrote a show for like a 70-seat theatre.
And she came?
She was there on opening night.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's where I met her in foyers in the theatre.
The theatre was such a big part of her life.
It's a part. I think it's a big part of a lot of Australian actors' lives who come here, and it's a huge part of her life. That's what she did until. I mean, that's what she still does it.
Right. Yeah.
She's amazing. Was she delightful?
Yeah, she was terrific.
Did she tell you about all her lovers?
She didn't get into the whole lot.
Well, she's thanked them publicly before. I think she said once, I want to thank all the men I've slept with. I might be misquoting her, so make sure you check that.
She was the type of free spirit that was just letting it all out. Let me put it that way. It didn't get specifically into the lovers, but I definitely got that vibe. So how did the theater impact you in your career when you think about it?
Well, when I came out of drama school, well, my first job was when I was 12, and it was a show for children in the Sydney Theatre Company. So it was the first thing I ever did. And then I did theatre growing up in school. And then when I came out of drama school, a friend of mine and I formed an independent theatre company in Australia because we were kind of disenchanted because we weren't, firstly, there was like 1 or 2 roles that we would want and they were going to other people, let's say. Or they just, and then everything else that we were seeing, we were like, we don't like this theatre. So we decided to form a theatre and put on the productions that we want to see. So we produced quite a few plays and toured around and got commissioned to write some stuff, and it was really great. And it's just you create a sense of companionship, camaraderie. You really create you create a knowledge of development, script development, work together, work in an ensemble, work for no money. Like we had a company where we were totally non-for-profit, and what we would do is I could not, as a producer and the lead actor, get paid more money than the person who was the stage manager.
Oh, wow.
So we divided profits equally at the end of every show. So if we made a lot of money, that was great, and if we didn't make a lot of money, everybody lost. So it was like that.
That's really interesting.
We covered our costs, and then we split the money between everybody who worked on the production.
Again, different
equally.
than what it would be
here. Oh my God, completely different. I remember coming here and starting to work in the theatre, because I have a theatre show that I've done even in Alan's club. And I remember talking to the producer, and my lawyer was there, and they were like, you can't do this. And I was like, but we just need to share the money. And they were like, but this person isn't working as hard. I'm like, I don't care. And then I was like, oh, I get it, because you're working harder than that person, and you just don't, it's just not how people are taught and raised here. And I understand, because there's a lot of money going around here, and you can feel exploited by that system, whereas in Australia there wasn't enough money to feel exploited at all. Like no one was getting more, you know what I mean?
I'm sure that was a little bit of a culture shock for you though when you first came. Yeah,
it wasn't so much a culture shock as like a I guess it is called a culture shock. I was going to say it's like a social shock or something. I don't, because I didn't have I guess it was weird.
It was just the social aspects that were a bit surprising.
Of course it was, and because I was born in a communist country. Then I went to Australia, and then I came to
You're like, oh wow, this is different. Yeah,
I was like,
this isn't a communist country.
I figured out Australia, and now I'm like in America, and it's like totally different.
Yeah, and
there's an amazing quality to the work ethic here as well as a result of that, right? So like you're paid to do a job, and you do that job and you do it well, whereas like in countries where there's not that money, it's like, okay, I'll do this when I've got time, or I'll help you when I can, like thanks for spot me some money. Right. It's different. So it's very different in each of those places, and I love them all. Like I'm working in all of them.
Absolutely. So when you think about your career here in the States, what are some of your favorite projects that you've done?
Oh, goodness. I hope no one feels hurt. I was just about to literally say like the worst thing I've done. And then I thought, no, we're not going to go there. Because I was like, I hope no one gets hurt, but no one needs to get hurt. I think I love Instinct, to be honest with you, a lot. Oh my God, I wasn't expecting this question.
How about I, Tonya?
Yeah, I mean, I loved I, Tonya.
What do you remember from that experience?
What do you mean, what do I remember? Everything. I mean, I was only there for a week or something. I wasn't there for that long.
It was quick.
It was really quick.
Yeah.
They filmed really quickly.
Yeah.
The whole thing was
How long
filmed
was
quickly. That? 4 weeks.
Wow.
5 weeks, something
That's
like
crazy.
that. Yeah, it's crazy. She trained a lot before that.
Right.
And for months before that, actually. But it was that was a low budget film. And that was, Craig Gillespie directed that, Australian, and he knows how to work on stuff like that quickly. And that was an incredible experience because it was also just like no assholes, laid back, like let's do it.
It makes it much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, Margot wasn't like, let me get into character. And she was just like, all right, play Tonya, let's go. And so it's really enjoyable. And so, at times I was like, oh,
like this is cool.
This is really cool. We had a great time.
Had you guys
we
met before?
About boys. Yeah. She'd done my show. She's done my show, The Blind Date Project, the improv show that I do.
That's right. Yeah.
She went on a date with me for an hour.
There you go. That's awesome. So I like how you've had all these different pockets of your career here, and it seems like the documentary thing, like you're going to continue to build on it.
I hope so.
Yeah. So what's the documentary about?
The documentary is about my aunt who lives in Serbia. She lives in rural Serbia, and she was like the most famous hairdresser in rural Serbia. And I'm laughing at that, but and Vidal Sassoon actually asked her to work for him in Paris in the 90s, and she couldn't go because she's so traumatized.
Oh, wow.
And then I actually had never known her. It's called The Forbidden Aunt because I was never allowed to know her. I just knew that she drank. And
but you weren't allowed around her?
No, because she drank. Lo and behold, I've been sober now for 13 years. So I had my own issues with alcohol, but it wasn't when I was around her.
I gotcha.
The irony is palpable. But when I was, I just come out here, I just got my first Hollywood job, had my first Hollywood breakup, and I just was I need some time to realign. And I decided to go and get to know this woman who I'd never known before, but she was always the most exciting person to me. And I thought, I was going to make a little documentary about her, maybe 10 minutes, and then the stuff that I ended up filming and the interactions that I had with her and her daughter and what I found out about her past, my mother's past, my cousin's upbringing with her just blew my mind and kind of blew the family's mind because they confronted secrets they haven't spoken about for decades.
That must have been really fascinating for you to do.
Totally fascinating, and they're obsessed with soap operas, and they watch Turkish soap operas, and my aunt's like, my life could be a soap opera, but the Americans wouldn't watch it because they like violence, but the Turks would have me because they love emotions. And so what I just did recently was I shot reenactments in the style of Turkish soap operas where I play her.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we've given her own soap opera basically. With
so I'm sure she's pretty happy about it.
She's really scared because there's a lot there that's tough to
talk about, tough to swallow.
Very tough to talk about and tough to swallow.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So you mentioned being sober for 13 years. Yeah. Obviously, lots of ups and downs in this industry. What has that been like for you in terms of just remaining sober? Oh,
it's been fine. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great. I've never kind of been like, oh, I want to have a drink over that asshole. No, like I wouldn't want to have a drink over some idiot in the industry or some weird like experience. No, it's been fine. I just spent most of my 20s sober. That was tough, I have to say, like on a personal level.
Definitely.
Like, just on like an internal kind of self-esteem level, because you're in your 20s and you're finding out sort of who you are. And
it's a critical time. I'm in my 20s right now, so I'm going through all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so do you drink?
I do.
See,
but
there you go.
but here's the thing. I didn't start drinking until much later in life. So I didn't have my
okay.
first drink until my 20s.
Oh, God,
I was different like that.
I had my first drink when I was 14.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, not advocating for that at all.
No,
by the way.
of course not. But
21.
yes.
Did you really stick to that?
Yeah, I did. Well, my mom was a drug and alcohol counselor, so that's kind of where it was
that's
just the fear-mongering
awesome.
thing. But then I was just like, I want to enjoy a beer, enjoy some wine. But I could just do it in a casual, comfortable way.
Awesome.
But it's
All
different
power to you.
internationally, you know, where drinking ages are
Well,
different.
Serbia, there's no drinking limit.
Okay, so there you go.
There you go.
Communist country, no drinking limit, you know.
No, and I remember someone gave me like rakia, which is the Serbian spirit, when I was 4. And I was dancing on this table. I remember it so vividly. And we actually walked past his farm recently, because I've been going back there to film a lot. And then when I was 14, I started drinking wonderfully. There was even, I was the valedictorian of my school, but there was like pictures of people, you know, when people scrawl under the desks, there was like some picture of me, like someone had drawn like a picture of me drunk going, Bojana, drinking on the weekends.
Well, at 14?
Yeah, like, no, that was like 17.
Okay. But still valedictorian and still keeping that going. That's pretty impressive.
Well, I had to like keep my parents out of my business.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Lot going on there. I like it.
A high-achieving vagabond.
So why don't you tell everybody where they can check out the show on Sunday?
Check out Instinct this Sunday, 9 p.m. on CBS.
There you go. That's Bojana. I'm DJ. We'll see you next time here on The Sit Down.